Hello everyone, I'm Nora or Willow, also known as NW Analysis, and in this video we're going to do a versus comparison of two franchises that are action-based with swords-like weapons, Demon Slayer and Star Wars. This video is which franchise would win in an all-out battle. I'm a fan of both franchises and I'll try not to be biased, and with that, we'll go into the rules. Also, spoiler warning ahead for Demon Slayer and the entire Star Wars series. Rule 1. The only permitted weapons are Nichiren blades and lightsabers, so no blasters, bowcasters, shotguns, or anything like that. The exception is weapons that function like swords or lightsabers, like Tengen Uzui's cleavers, Shinobu Kocho's needle sword, or dark sabers, but because they basically function the exact same. So characters such as Chewbacca or Gyome Himejima won't be here as they were never seen using these weapons. Rule 2. The rules on special abilities are as follows. Breathing techniques are allowed as they are legitimate sword techniques. However, the force is only allowed if it involves the lightsaber, such as throwing the lightsaber and returning it. So no force pushes, pulls, or anything like that. As well as this, Kokushibo and Kaigaku are not allowed to use their blood demon arts as those are projectiles. Rule 3. For the sake of it being somewhat fair, lightsabers will function like regular swords. Otherwise, as soon as it hits a Nichiren blade, it will get destroyed. Along with this, Kokushibo and Kaigaku are able to be killed by lightsabers like any normal human, because if not, it's a guaranteed win for Demon Slayer. And Rule 4. All characters are in their prime. So example, Obi-Wan Kenobi will be in his Revenge of the Sith form, rather than his form in, say, the Kenobi series or A New Hope. And Tanjiro will be in his Sunrise Countdown arc form over his Demon King form, because Demon King Tanjiro never used a sword. And with that out of the way, let's get into the analysis. So firstly, we need to pick out the weakest of the weakest. So we can get rid of the no-name Demon Slayers, unnamed Jedi, because there's the rule of two for the Sith, so we don't need to eliminate any of them. And as well as this, we're getting rid of our first named character, Finn. Finn used a lightsaber in Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, and he was clearly unskilled. He struggled against a high-ranking First Order stormtrooper and only survived because he was rescued. And on the Demon Slayer side, Murata also has to go. And I'm also going to say the God Murata jokes just aren't funny, and just he needs to go. Next up, I want to go over the key players for each side, starting with Demon Slayer. So the unmatched MVP on this side is Yoriichi Sugikuni, the strongest character in the Demon Slayer universe and the first ever Demon Slayer. Yoriichi's speed and reflexes are unmatched, and this is seen in his fight with Muzan Kibutsuji, where Muzan split himself into 1,800 pieces, and Yoriichi was able to slice 1,500 of them, so he's definitely the MVP. However, some other strong characters that would be good here are the main character Tanjiro Kamado, Yoriichi's brother and the Upper Moon One Kokushibo, and the Wind Hashira Sanemi Shinazugawa. And for Star Wars, Yoda is not only the oldest character that I could find, but he's also extremely agile. His knowledge and experience cannot be ignored. Some other key players for Star Wars are Mace Windu, who has mastered all forms of lightsaber combat as well as creating his very own. The Chosen One, Anakin Skywalker slash Darth Vader, who is trained under Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Jedi Master, and Darth Sidious. The latter being a key player as he is able to cut down 3 Jedi Masters within the span of about 10 seconds, as well as being able to hold off Mace Windu until Anakin arrived. Sidious was also able to fight Darth Maul and Savage Opress at the same time, and he even managed to kill Savage. So we have our death fodder and we have our key players. So let's compare some of the most impactful fights in each. And at first, I want to compare Duel of the Fates to Tanjiro and Tengen versus Gyutaro. Both with 3 participants, but both start very differently. And we'll begin with Duel of the Fates. Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon arrived at the Naboo hangar where Darth Maul is standing, and the fighting begins immediately. Whereas in the latter, Tanjiro is struggling to fight off Gyutaro, and as he is about to get stabbed in the eye, Tengen comes in with a cleaver in his mouth as he's missing a hand, and he blocks Gyutaro's attack, then sends him jumping away. And the main part of each fight is also very different, with the 2 Jedi fighting Maul at the same time, and Maul having to knock each of them away to try and make the fight go more in his favor. keep this in mind. With Tengen versus Gyutaro, the two are very mobile in their attacks, with Tengen spinning his cleavers and Gyutaro's sickles attempting to clash, but focusing on Tengen and as he's the only one who's allowed to participate, you can see his true combat speed. It is insane compared to how they fight in Star Wars. Another thing to note is Tengen uses micro grenades, which are banned, however his speed is still easy to see. Tengen and Gyutaro then begin circling each other while swinging their weapons, and each of their techniques are clear. Another thing I noticed in Duel of the Fates is there's a lot more hand-to-hand combat, like I mentioned with them knocking away. Whereas Tengen exclusively uses his weapons. In the final part of each fight, beginning with Star Wars, Qui-Gon Jinn is killed by Darth Maul while Obi-Wan is trapped. So after the gap can be closed, Obi-Wan takes on a super aggressive style, cutting Darth Maul's lightsaber in half, and after a bit more clashing, Obi-Wan is hanging on to dear life as he is above a pit where you could be falling for God knows how long, and then Maul kicks his lightsaber into the pit, so he's defenseless. But Kenobi ends up jumping up and using the Force to obtain Qui-Gon's lightsaber to cut Maul in half. Whereas with Tengen and Gyutaro, Tengen's eye is slashed and he goes blind in it, and as he gets Gyutaro in a bad position, Tanjiro arrives, gaining his Demon Slayer mark and beheading Gyutaro. So with both, their forms are clear, with Demon Slayers having a lot of speed, whereas Star Wars relies more on traditional sword techniques, and this is something the Demon Slayers have, because let's compare an intense shot from Star Wars. And then from Demon Slayer. Now I will say, I do know one is animated and another isn't, so I'll use another example, this time from the Clone Wars series. So for this, we'll do Ahsoka versus Darth Maul, and let's get another fight from Demon Slayer, Sanemi versus Giyu. Both combatants use the same weapons in each fight, even if Maul has a double-sided lightsaber, so it isn't unfair within the rules. With Sanemi and Giyu, there is constant movement, both of them using their distinct techniques and movements, and another thing I want to emphasize is speed. Neither party stopped for a single second, but looking at Ahsoka versus Maul, and before I continue, I am aware that this was done in live action, but there was modifications made. Ahsoka does stop moving for a few split seconds, so there is enough time for a Demon Slayer to react. So say it was Ahsoka versus Sanemi. Even for a split second of not moving, Sanemi could cut her down due to not only his speed and aggression, but also the fact that Maul was stunned for a second. She didn't try attacking, but instead used the Force to retrieve her lightsaber. So Sanemi could have, definitely killed her in the time she took to retrieve it. So looking at all this, I think we can finally determine our winning team, and I think, looking at everything, Demon Slayer wins. I don't think it would be a landslide due to the numbers, but I think looking at just the MVPs, Demon Slayer does win. And the main aspect is speed, especially when it comes to Yoriichi and his feats. So I think Demon Slayer wins, however if the Force was allowed, Star Wars would easily win. Thank you all so much for watching, this has been my most ambitious video yet, and I'm happy you stayed till the end. With that, make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace.